No matter what you've heard, if you are learning to become a QA automation engineer, Selenium WebDriver is a must know. You might have heard that you need to learn Playwright because Playwright is a new shiny object. That is a shiny object syndrome right there. But I have data to show you that you actually need to learn Selenium. Depends if you're looking for a job or if you're looking to be cool. Playwright is cool. It's really awesome. It's powerful. But in the job market, is it the #1 thing right now? So let me show you some data. This is a little experiment I ran. I scraped over 500 jobs. So scraping is when you write script to go to the browser and just collect some information. You go to the website and collect some information. So I actually created a little Selenium Python script. I went to a popular job site and I downloaded or scraped over 500 jobs because I wanted to see which words are more popular. And I wanted to analyze some words. So I randomly put some words that just came top of my mind. I'm going to run this. This is SQL. This is actually the next step in your process. This is SQL. Don't worry about that part. So I put all the words in the database and I counted it. So you can just pause it and look at if you're interested in other words. If I sorted by popularity, by how often each word showed up, when we look at this, we look at Selenium, it showed up 248 times out of the 500 jobs. Let's just say 500. It's 539 jobs total. Accessibility is probably part of the HTML. Don't worry about that. Let's focus on Selenium versus Playwright because everybody thinks Playwright is what you need to learn, but the job market says otherwise. So Selenium showed up 248 times and Playwright showed up 78 times. So which one do you need to learn if you're looking for a job? Obviously, the job market needs way more Selenium than it needs Playwright. So you would start with Selenium. That's my goal. I'm not saying you're not going to learn Playwright. Playwright is extremely awesome. It is so super nice and eventually it will catch up, no doubt about it. So any company that's starting a new project, they're going to start with Playwright. But all these companies that have been around, they've been using Selenium for a long time. They're not just going to switch to Playwright overnight because that's a huge project to do so. So first, I want to put you at ease that I'm not like making stuff up. This is real data and Selenium is where you need to be. All right. So now back to my main focus is the 8-step process that I built for you to become a QA automation engineer. The 8-step that I built is a process, 8-step process for you to become a QA automation engineer. And this is going to be step number 3. Step number 1 was learn a programming language. Highly recommend Python. Step number 2 is get the basics of QA. Learn what testing is, what's a test case. Just get the basic terminology down and just writing test cases and getting familiar with testing. And step 3 is learn a web testing tool. You have to do step 2 because you need to know what to test, what testing is, so you can use a web testing tool, right? So that is going to be step 3. Now in step 3, there are 3 popular tools that you're going to need to learn. Selenium WebDriver specifically. Selenium have a couple of components, but WebDriver is the main one that you want. So there's Selenium #1, Playwright #2, Cypress #3. All those 3 are really popular. If we go back to the job search, actually, let me pull up. We didn't look at Cypress. Cypress came right below Playwright at 66 times versus 78. So Playwright and Cypress are much close to each other compared to Selenium. So now those are the 3. Now Cypress, put it on hold for now, okay? Don't even think about it because Cypress is JavaScript based. Remember, my recommendation is for you to start with Python. So Cypress is only for JavaScript, so we're just going to hold on for that for later. Playwright and Selenium, though, you can use them with Python. So those are tools and you need a programming language along with it. Whatever tool you choose, there's going to be a language. You have to speak the language first so you can use the tool. So Python is supported by both, or both of those support Python rather. So because of the data I showed you, I want you to start with Selenium. And in this video, I'm just going to show you what Selenium actually looks like. The Python code, just an example of a real automated job. That is my goal. I want to show you what you will be learning when you learn Selenium, an automation tool, right? So that will excite you, that will give you an idea of what it is going to look like. Honestly, Selenium itself is really nothing. It is the language, but you're going to write Selenium with Python, so the challenges, the difficulties are going to be with Python. Most of your work is in Python. Selenium itself, how to use Selenium itself is actually quite straightforward and pretty easy to do. And once you learn Selenium, going to Playwright is just much easier because the concept is the same. You go to the browser and you do stuff. So what Selenium does is it's a web testing tool, right? We're not testing mobile applications, we're not testing desktop applications, we're going to focus on web application. Web application is anything that loads up in a browser, right? If you go to facebook.com, that is a web application. If you go to Facebook, the mobile app, that's a mobile application. If you go to supersqa.com, that is a web application. Amazon.com, that's a web application. You access it through the browser. If you can access it through the browser, then Selenium can act like you, like the human, and interact with the browser. If you need to click something on the browser, it will click it. If you need to type something into the browser, it will type it. If you need to look at the text and and see if the right text showing up, it will do it. So that is what web testing is. You write code once and that will go open a browser and use the website like a human would, and then once you write it, you can run it again and again and again. That's the advantage of automation, is once you write it correctly, it's a time investment to write it, but then you can run it as many times as you need. In real testing, you have to do regression. You test something, it works. It's not like you're going to be like, okay, it's working, you're not going to test it again. No, you're probably going to test it every single day or every time you have a new release. Because with code, let's say you worked on login page, it works, everything works good. People can register, people can log in, everything is good. Now you don't touch that and you work on other component of the application. Let's say you work on like refund processing. It's an e-com company and you work on refund processing. That refund processing or the refund page has nothing to do with login. So you would think because you change the refund page, the login page is not going to be affected, but there's a chance it could be. So even though you just touch the refund, you still got to test the login. So every time you make some change somewhere else, you still got to go back and test the old stuff, and that's called regression. You regress your tests. Because of that, that means the same test has to be run over and over and over again, and if you're doing that manually, you can imagine that is a nightmare. So let's take a look at real examples. So we're going to go right back to our test websites and e-com site. One of the test cases, the easiest one to understand, for example, is login. So if you want to test if login is working, you're going to come to the page, you're going to go to click on my account, put in some username, put in some password, and you click on login. Let's say this is a negative test case, making sure that an invalid user cannot log in. You hit login and you get this error message. So that is a test. You make sure that if it's an invalid user, you get some specific error message. So that what I just did right now is manually running the test. Now, how does this work in Selenium? So in Selenium, you write a Python script that uses Selenium. So here, this is a Python script, right? So if you pass step 2 or step 1, really, once you learn how to use Python, you understand how to do this, but this is very specific to Selenium. So when we see find element, right? This is a Selenium thing, but if you know Python, you know this is a function. You just don't know what this function does because it's a Selenium function, but it's a Python function. So you know it's Python, you know what it is doing, you know it's a function, you know it's calling something. You just don't know what that means until you learn Selenium. So you write a simple code like this, a Python code that imports Selenium. From Selenium, import WebDriver. You always see this. This is a standalone script. It's not using a framework. I'll show you a framework in a minute. So you write code, you import some code that you need, instructions. I put a sleep here so I can slow down the script. The script goes so fast, you won't be able to see it. So I put in a sleep of 2 seconds. So every action is going to sleep for 2 seconds. So we'll start the browser. It's going to sleep for 2 seconds. In fact, we probably don't need that. I'm going to comment it out. That means the computer is not going to read it. When you comment something out, the computer will just skip it. It's going to go to this site. This is my other site for the, I use it for the bootcamp and stuff. It's the same site. It's an e-com site. It's going to go there. It's going to sleep for 2 seconds. Sleep means the script is not doing anything. It's just going to wait. Sleep in your code. This is true in most programming languages. You put a sleep to tell the code, okay, don't do anything. Just hold on, chill for a little bit. So this is chilling for 2 seconds. I'm going to set it at 2 right here. Then it's going to click that my account link. Then it's going to go and find the 2 elements. It's basically going to go to here and it's going to find those 2. That's what you're doing with Selenium. We're going to tell Selenium, hey, go find this particular thing. First, we told it, hey, go find this and click it. Then we're telling, hey, go find this right here. And well, for now, we're saying just find it. Find this field and find this field. And we did that. Then we're saying, hey, type into it, send keys. Keys are the keyboard keys. We're going to tell it to send it. So you see how we're instructing Selenium kind of like a human, right? And just plain English. That's the thing about Python too. It's like mostly it's plain English. Sounds like plain English. But we're instructing it, hey, go open the browser, go to this website, click on this thing, type on that. That is the instruction. And that's what you're going to learn. How to instruct Selenium is what you're going to learn when you're learning how to use Selenium. All right. So we do that. Then we say click the button. So now everything I just did manually. So you will first have to go through manually to understand what the process is. Then every step you took, every action you took manually, you simulate it inside of your code. So I'm going to run this. This is a script called login script.py. It is right here somewhere, login script.py. And let's run that script. So I'm going to say Python login script.py. Let me make this a little bigger. All right. So when I hit this, it should open a browser, a brand new browser. There you go. It's going to go there. It's going to wait 2 seconds because I made it super slow. We're going to see it with 0 seconds. I clicked on my account. You're going to see it typing into the username. There you go. It's going to type into the password. There you go. It's going to click on login. Waiting 2 seconds. It seems like it's more than 2 seconds. And it's going to get this message, error message, and it's going to check if this error message is correct or not. Right? In this case, it got the correct message. Everything works. It said done. Script worked successfully. So that is an automated script right there. But this is just a one script just by itself. And when you're building a framework, you have hundreds of scripts, hundreds of tests. So you're going to use a framework that makes things a little bit easier. Let's look at another example that is part of a framework. So you're going to learn how to organize files. So a framework is nothing but an organized set of files, a bunch of files working together. right? Makes things easier so you don't repeat yourself. So for example, here in the script, we wrote code that says open the browser. But as you imagine, every test needs to open a browser. So if you're using a framework, you don't have to tell every test to open a browser. You have the function once, one place that opens a browser. Then every time you write a new test, you don't have to write a new code to open a browser. That already exists. The test would automatically know they need to open a browser and they use the existing. So that's kind of what a framework is. I know I cannot explain the framework in a short amount of time and it's out of scope for this video. I just want to show you what Selenium looks like. So this is a framework. It's just a bunch of tests. We have front end, back end, everything is, this is like the one I use in my bootcamp and then also in my coaching. So here, this script is an end-to-end, this one, an end-to-end checkout. So what this guy does is it goes to the home page, it's going to add one item to the cart and it's going to go to the cart, it's going to apply a coupon. Once it applies the coupon, the cart becomes $0. It goes through the checkout process. So that will be a very typical test case you would do in automation, right? If you work for an e-commerce website, a typical thing you'll do is run a checkout flow. And this one is a checkout flow as a guest user. So you can imagine how many tests there are. So let's say just a checkout flow by itself. You want to do a checkout flow as a guest user. You want to do a checkout flow with a registered user, an existing user. You want to do a checkout flow for a digital product, a checkout flow for a physical product, a checkout flow with 2 items in the cart, a digital and a physical in the cart, checkout with 2 physical in the cart, checkout with 2 digitals in the cart. You want to make sure the application works for these different combinations. Now, if you have to do that manually and all the time, imagine how much time it's going to take. That's the power of automation. That's why companies want automation, because each of those scenarios I just talked about, you're going to write code that will do those things. So yes, writing the code will take a little bit of time. Now it's going to be super fast because of AI. But once you write that code, you can run it 10 times a day if you want. It's not going to cost you much, right? So that is the point. So let's run this script. But before this, what I forgot is to show you the previous script with no sleep. I want to show you how fast it is. So right now I have a sleep of 2. Let's do a sleep of 0 and run the same script again. You're going to see it running so much faster. Browser opens, like bam, 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 done, right? It is so quick that 2 seconds made a big difference. So I just wanted to show you that. Now this test here, I have the ID, this guy. So you test cases, you manage them, you store them in some proper way, and there's ID. Each test case, if you have like bunch of test cases, each test case will have an ID. You take that ID, you put it in your automation so you know which code belongs to which test. In this case, I want to run this test case, which is test case ID 33. So I'm going to go to that folder. let me clear the screen. Let me move this up a little bit. I'm going to do cd ssqa test. All right, in that folder, I'm going to do python 3 -m pytest, the test folder -m the ID. I'm just saying run this ID. So now you're going to see the browser open, go through the checkout. Add item to the cart, apply coupon, go to checkout, fill in the form, right? If I scroll this, it doesn't need to scroll, so it won't show us, but it's filling. In this case, it's doing something weird. It didn't fill this out. So this test actually might fail. Oh, there you go. I don't know why it took a long time, but it did fill it up, right? Fill in all the form. It's going to click on place order. Then the next page is going to say, hey, this page has thank you for your order or something like that. It's going to look for that and it's going to know. So in this case, it fails. I'm not going to bother running it again. Some weird thing happened. That's the thing with front end. Front end tests are a little bit flaky, and that's why we have jobs, because we need to maintain front end tests quite often. So that is what front-end automation is, and that is what you're going to be learning. This video ended up being a lot longer than what I thought it would be, but I was just getting too much into the details. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did enjoy it, give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments. It will tell the algorithm that this video is good. If you just even put a thank you in the comment, or it makes sense and you enjoyed looking at the the demo and everything, so put that in the comment and check out the description. I have all the resources you need in the description. I have one-on-one coaching. If you want to work with me and you want somebody to hold your hand and teach you all this stuff, you can work with me directly. If you like the self-paced type of working, I also have that. I have a community and a bunch of self-paced courses, very affordable. First month's free, totally free. At least right now, first month is totally free, so you can check it out. You can even learn this within that month. So check that out and check out the whole series. This is step 3 in 8 steps. So the first video, I went over all the steps. Then I started making individual videos for each of the steps. So this is going to be step number 3. And the next step is going to be, once you learn front-end testing, I do want you to pick up SQL, which is databases. And we're going to talk about that on the next video. It will show up right here, right? The left, somewhere on the screen. So check out the next one.